All right, so moving right along, what we're seeing in Bitcoin, this I don't like the price action here, and in retrospect, I should have not bought back in the other day. I was traveling and I thought we were going to push higher, but I had also suggested at M3 that we might see that candle reverse. So this is a bearish candle here. Bitcoin likely coming back down to that 100K level as I suggested, and dragging the rest of the market down with it. I don't know if there's any news, but show me the charts. I'll tell you the news, as I always say. And so anyway, this also saying Bitcoin price crashed 100K loading, next targets revealed. It's, I don't know, the sensational headlines we don't need. Again, it's a tug of war. The bulls need to win. Green team needs to pull over the line sometimes, and the red team needs their turn sometimes also. So I would suggest possibly lightening positions here a little bit to have cash to buy back in this 99K to 100K region. And in case we do come back down to fill the gap, we can look at it also on the CME here. I know we're getting a little bit deep in the trading, but I'm narrating it so that you don't need to understand kind of what these actually, all these squiggly lines are referring to. So CME gap also, we've had it here, magnet. Price tends to pull back to these open gaps. So if we saw that, now I don't think we'll go to 92K though. We have a big buy block here. We have the Bollinger Bands tightening. I think if we do pull back into this 98K, 99K region, my read is that we're going to kind of shoot out of there. Okay, so no need to panic. But some pullback likely here in the short term, and so unsure why or where the catalysts are. Maybe some fears. Wall Street doesn't like uncertainty, and we have retaliations from Russia to Ukraine likely, and I think there's some uncertainty. It's a non-zero chance that this doesn't drag us all into global World War III, and nobody's really talking about it. But Putin is not to get into politics, but what is it when you're backed into a corner? Dogs and animals, they kind of go into survival mode. We don't want to see that. So markets aren't going to want to see that, or any threat of the, escalation of those kinds of conflicts. Okay, so just going to throw that out there. I haven't seen anything on that. My read is markets are sort of de-risking a bit along those lines, but also cycles are in control. Narratives, the narratives sort of wrap around those. But currently, as of now, if we start losing this 104K level on this 21-day exponential moving average, then likely we're looking at this kind of a move, and the short-term move, not a big deal. Good opportunity, dollar cost average, if you have some powder dry and down in this region. Okay, so let's take a spin down the different tokens. I do want to look at, let's see, where did my total market cap? Here it is. Looking at total market cap, I covered this week. Let me just go full screen again in the M3 Active Trader, that we have sell pressure overhead still on majority is Bitcoin and Ethereum up at these higher prices. I was just watching a video, by the way, earlier today, and actually Mike was alluding to it, that, in case you're wondering who's selling, I'm glad that you talked about that, Mike, because it's a big question. And if it's the whales that are selling, that makes sense. Did you want to chime in?
No, it's just, yeah, it's, and it's not only the whales. It seems like from their the amount of age that they had, these are people who got in from literally the start of Bitcoin until about 2015. So these are, well, till 2016. They said the average cost of most of those coins was 0 to 700, bucks per coin. So these are real old school people finally cashing out, in which, they have a lot of coins, but generally speaking, they're going to put some sell pressure on. But, all the constant ETF buyers are scooping those up pretty quickly. So, I mean, not enough to overwhelm the selling, but it's at least absorbing it, consistently.
Yeah, well, at least we can put a name on the boogeyman. I mean, it was kind of a big question, who was selling? And that would make sense. If you're sitting on that much profits, why not take some off the table? So anyway, but what's curious here is we have some sell pressure up here. It's not too bad, and the path, I think, on total market cap, although it looks like I'm wrong, I drew yesterday, we'd push up, reject, pull back, and go like that. I think something like this still in the works. Maybe we have to shift it down if we see that kind of a pullback. We'll see. But if we go to total market cap 2, it's much better. This is without Bitcoin, but including Ethereum. A lot of sell pressure. So, Mike and I were chatting about ETH dominance and money flowing and rotating into ETH. While I was seeing that on ETH dominance yesterday, this suggests a very different picture. At least all of these sellers with in this chart, which are not there in total 3. There's some of that in total 3, but it's much worse leading me to believe the ETH sellers are still there, and it's going to be tricky to get through that. Certainly possible if money rotates in, but I have some alerts set in here to let us know when that happens. So I'm not really inclined to buy ETH yet. I think I'm not a big fan of the slowness and the gas fees. My gut feeling is Solana may lead, but you never know. The big money will move things around. The value of the network still there, and it's all kind of narrative. On Total 3 though, as we've been watching, this is also looking pretty good. If we can just bounce off this trend line that we're on, or some variation of it, then and push up higher and potentially put in a third and final or fourth and final trend line slope. Typically that's what we see on parabolas. If you remember from geometry, drawing multiple higher sloping lines ultimately turns into a parabola, all the way up into this range, again, maybe into July 2025, and this is a bit of an exaggeration, but then if the bear market comes in, then we see everything kind of dump. So we want to be really watching. That's my job, and to really let us know when these things are topping out and looking bearish. So anyway, total DeFi not looking so good. A lot of sell pressure there. We're into Undo Finance is sort of DeFi. It's also RWA, and one of the leading ones. So it's doing just fine. Whereas Lido Finance is mostly DeFi and not looking so good. So just to kind of run through some of the coins here, Solana is kind of breaking down above one or below 150. We talked about this in M3 and in the chat, and I said if it breaks below 150, consider selling half. I did not put my stop losses in yet because I thought I would do that this morning. So at this point, I'll probably just hold on. But I think 142 would be a great place to buy back in Solana. This is where the buyers are. I made a joke yesterday. There's an Italian restaurant down on the corner called Lupa Verde, and they all wear shirts that say, "The Italians are here." And so the buyers, we need to get t-shirts saying, "The buyers are here," and in these green boxes. I don't particularly like this 21 and 50-day EMAs are rolling over on that, but and we do need to see somewhat of a bounce here, because currently on the weekly we have a bearish ERI and we're below the 21 and 50-day exponential moving averages. Guys, if we close here or lower, I'm going to be selling and taking some partial losses, because that would signal maybe a double bottom down in this 105 region. But typically what we see is these fake outs. The bullish scenario is we rally into the weekend, this red arrow disappears, we have a lower wick and turns into a green candle. So it's impossible to know at this point where we go with Solana. Okay, so I would expect that probably a bit of a fake out. Maybe it retraces a bit. We want to see this trend channel hold. And, it's also possible we have to redraw it a bit, but I try to be careful, and we don't want to ride this all the way back down to 100. Ideally, selling some of that and then buying lower. Dollar cost average is the name of the game. So guys, again, we're not getting into day trading. It's sort of swing trading principles in the larger scheme of things, but I'll be very curious to see how we close later today, and if it's red or if it turns green. So these are some of the things we're looking at. I do have stop losses on stacks. I believe one of them may have just hit. My next one is at below 70 cents, because I would rather get into cash and buy them back down at 50% if that opportunity presents. I'm a bit surprised to see these markets selling off. I did think, when we would start seeing the cycle lows coming in. Filecoin holding pretty well though, with the rising lows and potentially this green line still in play. This is one, again, that has 40, 10, 20, 40x potential in this cycle. I believe not even to the old all-time high. We'd need the money to flow into this narrative. And I think that based on this chart, it's still under accumulation. In a future cycle, if we hit the Fibonacci targets, possible 250x, but I don't think that's likely this cycle. There would have to be a massive market cap increase, but we'll see. I think it still looks decent here. It's spinning in higher lows. What I don't want to see it come all the way back down to that $2.30 range, although we have some relative safety, because if I turn off the Bollinger Band, we can see that has held, that $2.30 area has held all the way back since 2019. And that's, risk reward was still in our favor there. Okay, a double bottom here, even if this higher low doesn't hold, we still have that double bottom potential to push up and at least get a 200% on it, or a double. I think it probably goes higher, but we'll see. Okay, Ondo Finance coming down here, probably going to retest the lower edge of the trend channel. I'm on the weekly chart. I think it's more important to kind of watch the weekly trends. Starting to roll over on our signals, though. We saw the ERI go red, starting to go red on the TSI and signal. You know, this is one we keep sort of getting in with high hopes. It pushes higher and then it rolls over. And I don't know. I think maybe we have to wait until Bitcoin runs and the money flows into Bitcoin and pushes up to 70% Bitcoin dominance like we did last cycle, and then alt season returns when money starts flowing out of Bitcoin. It's kind of unclear at this point. And so OGN, you know, I was bullish on this and was buying a little bit more, but sometimes these things, when I had mentioned it to a few people also. Problem with going in and buying things at market on a low volume coin is it tends to kind of take all the air out of the room and it sells off for some reason. But at any rate, I still like OGN for long term. I wouldn't bet too heavy, but anyway, possible 50x on OGN, guys. And I'm not saying that will go. Wouldn't have too much on it. You know, even though we've been very patient, we've been through a lot of volatility. In the end, these are some of the coins that are going to make up for it, I believe. Polkadot, potential 10x still, and actually now since it's sold off, it's looking at a potential 12x. Had a nice base and bottom down around this $3.67. Again, volume has to return, probably going to happen after Bitcoin peaks, and so we're just waiting for that inflection point. Lido Finance selling off a bit, but keeping its higher lows intact. DeFi not looking particularly good, seeing some sell blocks overhead. I was lightening my position last night. Again, guys, you know, this is retire rich inner circle. It's long term, but still I would suggest selling partial positions to hold cash in case we go lower to dollar cost average. It helps make up those losses faster, lowering the overall cost. I know many of you don't have the time or energy to want to do that, but I'm going to say it anyway. So with that, INJ is another one kind of coming down to its 50 days. So nothing's really looking very good. I would wait this out. I did go in, however, last night and sell the following altcoins because they are looking relatively weak on the daily chart. When they're below that green 50-day exponential moving average, that's being below the ice, and typically these will drift down. I sold my SUI. My holdings are in green. My the ones I moved into cash are in blue. I sold SUI. Likely it comes down in this area. I'll buy it back here. This is the chart. And so I consider doing that. Say also sold, not looking good. I'm not going to buy back into Say. We want to kind of go with the market leaders, I think, and not trying to buy the lower cap shitcoins. And this cycle, it's not a good idea at this point. Near protocol, you know, the AI coins, they're just not looking good. Near, I'd consider around if we start coming out of the green box, but I'm going to really limit my coins here. Guys, I put a buy order on Immutable X 2 days ago in M3 and in private clients. I did not put it here because I wanted to see it confirm, and I'm glad I didn't, because the candle that was looking bullish and this move here, it reversed, and so it rejected at these lines. And if any of you want to learn more about TA, I encourage you to join the M3 Active Traders, where we go into this a little more detail. I don't want to go in the weeds with this right here. Hey, this is Brett from Moonstream. If you'd like to learn more about our pro trading signals or our live classes every Wednesday or our Retire Rich program, go over to moonstream.io/start.